Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
People love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, give him a zone. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
You are now diving head first into the Stone Zone. Well, Hillary Clinton has pitched a fit because for the first time in American history, she and her husband are going to be held responsible and accountable for their many illegal deeds. She's very ramped up about the fact that the House Oversight Committee has issued a subpoena for she and her husband. They have both agreed to testify. They've made a great show of saying that they have no links to Jeffrey Epstein, which is laughable. Jeffrey Epstein was at the Clinton White House 17 times based on the records released by the DOJ. And of course, Epstein was the seed funder of the Clinton Global Initiative and the Clinton Foundation. Now, back in 2015, I exposed Hillary Clinton as the short-tempered, foul-mouthed, entitled kleptocrat who would actually steal a hot stove. She and her husband, I think, are the penicillin-resistant syphilis of the American public, and I wrote it in my book, The Clintons' War on Women. That was in 2015. I paid a horrific price for that, I'm convinced, since every single prosecutor on Mueller's hit squad that went after me had previously worked for Hillary Clinton. I think it was a retribution. That's why I thank God for President Donald Trump, who could see that I was being politically persecuted, squeezed to testify falsely against him, and gave me a full and unconditional presidential pardon. But I suspect that the Hillary Clinton we're going to see on the stand is going to be the same short-tempered one we saw when she was questioned before the U.S. Senate as Secretary of State regarding the 2012 attack on Benghazi. That, of course, took place on September 11th, 2012 in Benghazi, Libya. It was involved coordinated assaults by Islamic militants on two government facilities, a diplomatic compound referred to as the U.S. Special Mission, and a nearby CIS annex about 1 mile away. Hillary Clinton has never been honest about this, and when we asked her when she was asked about it, she said, quite famously, "What difference does it make?" It makes a huge difference because Hillary Clinton and her State Department sold us a false narrative. They claimed that this was a spontaneous uprising of insurgents who were spurred on because they had seen a video disrespectful to Islam shown in the country. That is, of course, a completely made-up story. This was a precision military attack. The first attack began around 9:45 p.m. local time on September 11th when heavily armed militants, estimated to be between 20 and 150, associated with the group Ansar al-Sharia and al-Qaeda affiliates, stormed the U.S. diplomatic compound. The attackers very clearly had a blueprint of the property, knew exactly where the safe room was. The attackers breached the main gate, overran parts of the compound, set fires, including to the main building, that would be Villa C using fuel cans and used firearms and other weapons. The U.S. ambassador to Libya, you may remember, J. Christopher Stevens, Foreign Service Information Manager officer Shane Smith, were sheltered in a safe room but ultimately died of smoke inhalation, which did not stop the radicals from dragging their bodies out into the streets and publicly defiling them. This is what Hillary Clinton had wrought. The diplomatic security agents and others attempted a rescue amid what was reported to be heavy smoke and chaos. The second phase involved attacks on the nearby CIA annex starting around midnight. This is all on Hillary Clinton's watch, but there were no immediate casualties there. A third, more intense mortar and rocket-propelled grenade attack on the annex occurred around 4 to 5 o'clock on the following day, killing 2 CIA security contractors, both former Navy SEALs, Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doheny. So 4 Americans were killed, including Ambassador Christopher Stevens, Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, and Glenn Doheny. There were additional injuries as well. An unknown number of Libyan attackers were killed. The attacks were carried out by members of Ansar al-Sharia. Why did Hillary Clinton insist that we had somehow instigated this through the leak of a video and then refused to answer questions about it? Investigations later concluded the assault was completely premeditated and that Hillary Clinton and Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, and those around her just stoutly lied to the U.S. Senate. I think you get the picture here, but I found that Hillary Clinton was really the one running the show. She very clearly, as I establish in my book, first of all, her husband's presence on Epstein's Island, which is proven in the sworn testimony of at least 3 of his victims, including Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who we're supposed to believe committed suicide, puts him at Epstein's Island. This is not really surprising. In my book, I document multiple cases of sexual assault and rape by Bill Clinton. Many of these cases are well known. Now, Jennifer Flowers, that was a long-term consensual relationship, and Monica Lewinsky, I think, was not grounds for impeachment, as disgusting as it may have been. But Bill Clinton's extraordinary attack on Juanita Broaddrick, a woman who has become a major voice on the internet for freedom and a major critic because the pain never goes away. Bill Clinton was then the Attorney General. He was preparing to run for governor. She was working at a nursing home. He invited her to his room. She had been volunteering for his gubernatorial campaign when he assaulted her. He would famously bite through her upper lip as a technique. A woman trying to cover her bleeding lips cannot cover her genitals. There's at least 2 other reports by Yahoo.com of Clinton using this same disgusting technique. Then there's Kathleen Willey. She wrote the opening, the foreword, I guess I should say, for my book, The Clintons' War on Women. She was alleged that during 1993, when she worked as a House volunteer, Clinton groped her, fondled her during a meeting in the Oval Office. She detailed this in 1998 on 60 Minutes and in her own book, as well as mine. Paula Jones, she was paid $800,000 to settle a lawsuit for sexual harassment. So that is essentially stands as an admission of guilt. But the point here, of course, is that it was Hillary Clinton who runs the cover-up. It's Hillary Clinton who hires the heavy-handed private detectives and the mean lawyers to threaten these women into silence. I recall also the case of Leslie Milwee, a former TV reporter who came forward in 2016 alleging that Clinton sexually assaulted her 3 times in 1980 when she was working in Arkansas. In fact, there is substantial evidence that Bill Clinton, who attended Oxford very famously as a Rhodes Scholar, very interestingly never got his certificate. He would later be given an honorary degree at Oxford, but he would withdraw very suspiciously from the Oxford program. Now, the U.S. Senator J. William Fulbright of Arkansas was incredibly powerful in the U.S. Senate. In fact, the scholarship that Bill Clinton got is known as the Rhodes Scholarship. The very powerful Senator J. William Fulbright pulled strings to get Bill Clinton into Oxford, but very interestingly, he was accused there of sexually assaulting a woman named Eileen Wellstone. Wellstone reported the complaint with Oxford University authorities at the time, alleging assault, though some retellings say rape, but no charges were ever brought, no action was ever taken against Clinton. Clinton claims that he withdrew because he was accepted at Yale Law School, but I believe that too is a cover-up. So you have here two epic liars. The only thing the Clintons do better than lying is stealing. We know, for example, that during Barack Obama's time, that an investigation by the FBI into the pay-for-play operations of the Clinton Foundation were stopped cold. So the question here is, will they ever really be completely held responsible? Hillary Clinton says they have no links. She says her husband was on the plane a few times. Turns out that number is 27 times. It is high time that these folks are questioned under oath. And as I say, I paid a very high price because I feel like I was targeted by telling their epic story. It is a story of extraordinary greed, hubris. And I really think that she's the one with the drive. The most interesting thing about it, of course, is if you think you dislike the Obamas, no one dislikes them more than the Clintons. In fact, the two couples cordially dislike each other, although they have to cover for each other because they know each other's secrets. Hillary Clinton never quite got over the fact that the party passed her up to elect and nominate a little-known U.S. Senator, Barack Obama, in 2008. This causes enormous bitterness. The Clintons really could not understand how they could be denied a presidential nomination. After all, Hillary Clinton had been the First Lady and the Secretary of State. So Barack Obama kind of catches a wave here, realizing that the people don't like dynasties. They don't want any more Bushes, and they don't want any more Clintons, and they're tired of the scandal of a week under Bill and Hillary. That causes enormous bitterness. Bill Clinton actually says to Ted Kennedy, with amazement at Obama's ability to beat his wife, and says, Ted, back in the old days, this boy would be fetching us coffee. To which Senator Ted Kennedy was so outraged, he immediately endorsed Barack Obama for president. So there's probably no love lost as this moves forward. Barack Obama, of course, because he was president, under the same Supreme Court decision that shields Donald Trump from frivolous attacks, he too would have that same constitutional protection. In the meanwhile, President Donald Trump today honoring Rush Limbaugh. It's appropriate here we are on radio to talk about the great L. Rushbo. President Trump honored the conservative broadcasting legend. It was the 5th anniversary of his passing, remembering Rush as the patriot who helped shape modern American conservatism. I remember that we would constantly text ditto, ditto. We were ditto heads, those who agreed with the great Rush Limbaugh. President correctly recalls Limbaugh endorsed him in 2015 before the two had ever even personally met. According to the president, that early support signaled a turning point in the Republican primary and nomination process and energized grassroots voters across the country as the mainstream media tried to delegitimize Donald Trump's candidacy. Limbaugh passed away now. It was February 17, 2021, at age 70, after battling lung cancer. He was famously a cigar smoker. For more than 3 decades, Rush Limbaugh's nationally syndicated program literally educated millions of Americans, redefining talk radio as the political force it is. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if Rush Limbaugh had not gone before me. To conservatives, Limbaugh wasn't just a commentator. He was a counterweight to the mass hysteria of the liberal media establishment, who very rarely told us the truth and were entirely hostile to traditional conservative values. I loved Rush Limbaugh's wit, his unapologetic patriotism, his defense of free markets, limited government, and American exceptionalism. Built one of the most loyal audiences in broadcast history. President Trump awarded Limbaugh the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That was in 2020 at the State of the Union, calling it the recognition of a career spent defending the country and its founding principles. On this day, we honor Rush Limbaugh. The president offered condolences to his family, saying his influence remains deep, felt across the movement he himself helped build. Yes, right here on the Stone Zone. Rush Limbaugh, rest in peace. We'll be right back.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
It is a great, great person, Roger Stone.
The Stone Zone.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care. Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When news breaks, we don't just report it. We go beyond the headlines to get the full story. Get live coverage, in-depth analysis, and perspectives from the voices you trust, all in one place. Whether you're at home or on the go, stay connected to the stories shaping our world. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's a very, one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant political analyst.
Now, get him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're jumping right back into the Stone Zone. CNN has done it again. Now, I don't get my news from CNN for the same reason I don't drink out of the toilet, but the fake news network, or she would call it the Clinton News Network, never ceases to amaze me. Now, CNN anchor Pamela Brown announced that an upcoming hour-long documentary warning Americans about the alleged rise of Christian nationalism, tying it directly to the September 2025 assassination of my good friend Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk. Once again, they continue to smear Charlie Kirk as a racist, as a bigot, or as a militant, when what Charlie was a Christian. In a preview, Brown describes Kirk's murder as a rallying call that supposedly mobilized Christians and aligned them politically with the Trump administration. This demonstrates how fake the news is. The young conservative activist was gunned down in cold blood in broad daylight merely for speaking his mind, and the media response is not to be concerned about political violence from the radical left, but rather suspicious towards the people who mourn him. This is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was known for encouraging civic engagement among young conservatives, but he spoke openly about his Christian faith. He became a major advocate for my final pardon, unconditional presidential pardon. He told me to pray for it. He knew that I had achieved no crime. Charlie Kirk didn't really run in my circles. He reached out to me immediately after the FBI raided my home and told me that he would talk to the president on my behalf, but more importantly, he would pray, and he urged me to pray. We are all the poorer for Charlie not being with us. It's outrageous that CNN is back to trying to smear him again. This is part and parcel of what we've seen, where teachers and other people on the public payroll have actually celebrated his death. It continues to haunt me and to aggravate me. He's rightfully become the martyr for a cause of Christianity and conservative in the aftermath. But this documentary by CNN attempts to denigrate Charlie Kirk's legacy by claiming that the moral services and the public grief that we all felt was radicalizing among some segment of the population. The reality is very, very different. Faith leaders reported 15% increase in church attendance after the tragedy, a healthy spiritual response to violence by people looking for answers in the Bible. These are the people who want peace. We are not the problem. The fake news wants us to be on the target list. No doubt many of these media attacks were secretly happy when they heard Kirk was slain. These are true fish-faced enemies of the people. And continuing to kick, in this case, a corpse is nothing short of vile. But over at CNN, ratings are slipping, the money is tight, the talent has mostly been fired, and this is what they come back with. You're listening to The Stone Zone right here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. When we come back, well, that cryberry Stephen Colbert is whining again about being canned at CBS. I never thought he was particularly funny. I did like when he did Daft Punk's Get Lucky as a long-form dance number, but his political shtick never really got to me. And then as time went on, he got more viciously anti-Trump and more nasty about attacking those with whom he disagreed. I don't mind liberal commentary, but there's no reason to launch the kind of personal invective that Stephen Colbert seemed to trade in. We'll talk about him when we come back. On the other side, it's the Stone Zone. Don't go away.
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's a one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant political analyst.
Now, get him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. Whatever happened to late night comics and late night talk shows? I'm talking about people like Johnny Carson, Steve Allen, Jay Leno. They didn't come with some heavy political agenda, but Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and their ilk. All you get is vicious, anti-Trump, nasty politics and disrespect for anyone who has traditional values. Late night host Stephen Colbert, he used to be funny, but as time went on and he moved over to CBS, where he was fired only 2 weeks ago for lack of public interest, he got increasingly vicious. Now he's feuding with his own network because CBS declined to air an interview that he conducted with a Democrat U.S. Senate candidate in Texas named James Tallarico. Tallarico is a state legislator with very little money and little prospect of winning that race. Democrats are hoping to astroturf this guy Tallarico as kind of their next superstar, citing federal broadcast rules requiring equal time for opposing candidates. So now, in histrionic fashion, Colbert mocked the network on the air, wrapping the company's statement in a dog waste bag and throwing it away, then posting the interview online where it got millions of views. You see, the dispute centers on the Federal Communications Commission's equal time rule, designed to prevent broadcasters from using public airways for favoring one political candidate over another. So in other words, if Colbert wants to interview Mr. Tallarico, he would have to interview all of the federally registered candidates for the U.S. Senate. The CBS lawyers are right. They warned the segment could trigger legal obligations to provide airtime to all of the opposing candidates, something networks, of course, historically avoid by staying clear of all these candidate interviews. Colbert, however, thinks he's bigger than all that. He complained that the rule is rarely enforced against late-night shows and accused the network of not standing up to regulators. But the controversy exposes a longer-standing double standard. Entertainment programs that function as partisan platforms, like Kimmel and his ilk, while claiming exemption from legal accountability. For years, late-night television targeted our president, constantly attacking him, rarely having any pushback. The equal time rule exists precisely to prevent taxpayer-licensed broadcasters from becoming campaign vehicles. CBS is owned by Paramount Global, which has already announced Colbert's show will end in May for financial reasons, even though the host has hinted that politics played a role. But Colbert could be planning a second career like Ronald Reagan, who was a movie actor. Colbert, who's basically an entertainer, has joked about the possibility of running for president. Given the paucity of the Democrat field, it's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Pat Paulson, who was like Colbert, a comedian, ran famously a faux candidate for president back in the 1900s and 2000s, and got a huge amount of publicity doing so. The late-night talk show format will be obsolete very long. In the age of YouTube, with long-form podcast, it really serves no purpose. This was one of the reasons why Colbert's ratings were down. Colbert is now talking openly about his next career. He would certainly fit right in with the men are liars, dirtbags, and lowlives within the Democrat politics, but he does have name ID, and name ID in today's political world is worth a fortune. He brings that to the table. Beyond that, their field, I think, is pretty thin. You have Gavin Newsom, whose scandals grow by the day. Literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money just literally disappearing into housing projects and homeless projects and social projects. The greatest theft I've ever seen, dwarfing what we're seeing in Minnesota. You have J.B. Pritzker. He funds the entire Democrat Party of Illinois, top to bottom. Pritzker famously didn't want to live any place, so he bought the mansion next door to his in the very Tony suburbs of Chicago. But he had all of the toilets ripped out of the house, so it had a different tax classification, allowing him to save tens of thousands of dollars on property taxes. He of course, has presided over the crime fest that is Chicago. When confronted about Chicago's soaring crime rates in every category, the governor simply lies and said, no, things are going well. He and the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, he's got an approval rating of 6, which is probably also about his IQ, have done everything possible to prevent the Chicago police from coming to the aid of ICE agents who are legally performing arrests in the city of Chicago. AOC is not the improbable candidate you might think she is. She has instant name ID. She has a multi-million followers social media following. She's not terribly bright, but I'm not sure the Democrat Party that means. And she would be a magnet for low-dollar online contributions, probably through Act Blue, the very controversial Democrat payment processing company online, which is currently under federal investigation by the Trump administration. Some Democrats dream of a moderate governor out of, say, North Carolina or Tennessee. I think that is unlikely to happen. The Democrat Party that could produce such a nominee, I think, is dead. The old Democrat Party of Harry Truman and John F. Kennedy. I think you've got to look to the center of gravity, Mamdani, Bernie Sanders. It's amazing to watch Bernie. Now, Bernie used to vilify millionaires and billionaires. He hates anybody with money. Now he only vilifies billionaires. Why is that? Well, it's because Bernie Sanders and his wife became millionaires by receiving media placement fees from both of Bernie's extremely well-funded campaigns for president. Is that illegal? No. Is it unethical? I think that it is unethical if you don't inform your donors. So with Bernie Sanders, he wants you to wear sandals and sleep on the floor. But he, of course, has multiple vacation homes. He's driving a top-of-the-line Mercedes. It's kind of like communism for thee, but not for me. But that's where the center of gravity is in the Democrat Party today. Other than that, I don't think they have a bench. The Republican Party has an extraordinary bench. I think that's becoming clearer and clearer. Vice President J.D. Vance would have to be considered the favorite in any contest for the Republican nomination, given the great traditions of our party. But no one can deny that Marco Rubio is making an enormous mark on the American public and certainly on the Republican Party. President Trump has openly called for a Vance-Marco ticket, although Marco continues to say at this time he's really just focused on doing the job he has. Of course, Tulsi Gabbard has emerged as a star, first for her declassification of all of the Russian collusion proof that Donald Trump was targeted in a seditious conspiracy by Barack Obama, a seditious conspiracy that began in the Oval Office in 2016, continued through the Russian collusion hoax based on two pieces of falsified evidence, the Steele dossier and the false claim that the Democrat National Committee had been the target of a hack by Russian intelligence, morphs into the Mueller investigation, which is never rationalized. Also, the same fake information is used to justify a FISA warrant allowing the Obama administration to spy on Donald Trump as a candidate and to continue to spy on him after he was president-elect. President Trump, of course, exposed them. He went public saying that they spied on his campaign. The mainstream media continues to deny it. They deny it to this day. I love that interview with Leslie Stahl when he just shuts her down and says there is no proof. Actually, the proof is overwhelming. And now, just in the last week, we learned incredibly this is not the first time. See, after Richard Nixon was pardoned, he was legally required to sit for 6 hours of grand jury testimony about various issues. And at the very end of that testimony, there is a section that has been sealed and has been classified until very recently. It has now been made public. In it, Richard Nixon discloses that when he was president, he learned that the deep state, specifically the Joint Chiefs of Staff, were spying on his administration. Specifically, that a naval yeoman named Radford was actively copying documents from files, briefcases, desktops, desk drawers throughout the NSA operation. Also, sometimes traveled with General Al Haig, was able to get information there. Those photocopies went immediately to Admiral Welander, who would then index them and send them to the Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Thomas Moore. Now, when Nixon learned about this, he correctly said it was treason and he wanted to prosecute. What was their motive? Very simply, Nixon wanted to end the war in Vietnam. The deep state did not. Nixon wanted to achieve a nuclear arms agreement with the Soviets, a strategic arms limitation agreement with the Soviets. The deep state opposed that. Nixon would be successful. Nixon had decided to reach out to China in an effort to try to use them as leverage in his negotiations with Russia. Nixon understood something Joe Biden never understood, which is that the Chinese and the Russians, although they are both technically communists and in autocratic systems, they have a long mutual border and many decades of distrust between them. So Nixon skillfully drove a wedge in order to end the war in Vietnam and in order to open the door to China. Those who criticize Nixon for the China move really don't get it. At the time that Nixon did the formal outreach to Red China, they were a dirt poor, backwards, agrarian society where very few people had indoor plumbing. Rural areas did not yet have electricity. They were extremely low tech. Their military was not thought to be harmful, or I should say not to be worthy of a clash with the United States. Today, they are the malignant problem they are because President Bill Clinton gave them most favored nation trading status. Bill Clinton gave them that status in return for illegal campaign contributions. Clinton also, I believe, and I say this in my book, The Clintons' War on Women, I think he sold the Chinese missile targeting technology in return for Chinese funny money in his I guess it would be his first re-election, a race that he began behind. So I think that the sins of the Clintons are about to spell out for us. We're all going to see this because Hillary Clinton is not happy that she's being held to account. Meanwhile, the Trump administration is moving to protect the rapidly growing prediction market economy from state-level regulation meant to put it out of commissions. These are websites in which people can bet on outcomes of public issues. The Trump administration's Commodities Future Trading Commission announced that it will defend federal authority over betting-style derivative markets and warned states that it's prepared to sue if the states attempt to ban them. These should be correctly regulated at the federal level. The chairman of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, Mike Seelig, a Trump appointee, said the agency filed a legal brief asserting its exclusive jurisdiction, arguing prediction markets have existed for decades. These are really not new and serve legitimate economic purposes. According to the CFTC, these markets allow Americans and businesses to hedge real-world risks from energy prices to weather outcomes while also acting as a market-based check on media narratives and public forecasting. I'm not talking about corruption where people who are inside the system know that there's going to be some public revelation or decision or event and cash in on it. We saw somebody at the FBI do that when it came to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, and they were very quickly apprehended. But several states now, like Nevada, Massachusetts, and of course New York, have launched legal challenges largely tied to sports-related events offered by prediction market platforms. Utah's Republican Senator Spencer Cox, one of the weakest sisters among the anti-Trump moderates, blasted the move, calling the products gambling and vowing a constitutional court fight. Not surprising that Spencer Cox, who is a never Trumper to his core, would be opposed to these free market innovations that are making people money and providing some hedge against the future. I'm Roger Stone. You're listening to Stone Zone. We've got a little more for
This is the Stone Zone with Roger Stone.
Roger Stone, who's a one of the smartest political minds. Roger Stone was persecuted. People forget he's actually a brilliant political analyst.
Now, get him his own. It's the Stone Zone. Here's Roger Stone.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. Well, he's at it again. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the actor, comedian who the oligarchs in Ukraine have selected to act as their president, is criticizing President Trump's peace approach as negotiations to end the war with Russia continue right now in Switzerland. Zelensky is complaining that it's not fair that the United States is urging Ukraine to consider compromises rather than placing all the pressure on Moscow. Yet, behind closed doors, Ukrainian officials are acknowledging a workable agreement will almost certainly require territorial concessions significant enough to require a national referendum. You see, the last thing Zelensky wants in his country is an election. So all of those neocons and all of those Ukrainian enthusiasts who love shipping billions of dollars to Ukraine will tell you it's about democracy with a small d. But the truth is, Volodymyr Zelensky is no Democrat, small d. He has postponed elections now indefinitely because of the war, but he also arrests reporters. He shuts down newspapers. He shuts down radio stations. They've even outlawed the largest church in the country. So this is not in any way about democracy. And the NATO countries that are pushing Zelensky forward in his war against Ukraine are well aware of the fact that the United States signed an agreement with Russia, the Budapest Memorandum, in which we specifically agreed not to push Ukraine into NATO, which more precisely means not to allow Ukraine to have NATO-financed missiles that are paid for by you and I on the ground pointed at Russia. We reaffirmed our agreement not to push Ukraine into NATO in the Minsk Accords, additional documents that we signed with the Soviets, but we have not honored either one of them. This is really about money because, you see, through the EU, all of these nations that are pushing Zelensky forward get a huge infusion of cash, theoretically, to rebuild their military strength. Now, sources tell me that a lot of graft will come out of this. Elon Musk and Congressman Tim Burchett have both said they have seen evidence that a lot of the money that we paid for the war in Ukraine made its way back to the pockets of American politicians. And Elon intimated that some politicians actually have unnumbered Swiss bank accounts. Now, I have my ideas in mind. I don't want to say any names, Lindsey Graham, but this guy is so eager for war, it's unbelievable. He wants to bomb first and ask questions later. He's the very definition of a warmonger. He will go to war for any reason. He was a major cheerleader for the war in Iraq. He was a major cheerleader for the war in Ukraine. He was only mildly satisfied with President Trump's lightning-like limited strikes on Iran to take out their nuclear weapons facility. Lindsey Graham was cheerleading for a full-scale invasion. I've never seen anyone get so excited with bloodlust as Lindsey Graham. So if there is a senator taking bribes, and I'm not saying there is, I'm saying it has been reported by an eminent congressman and Elon Musk. Elon Musk, the first guy to call out Steve Bannon, correctly saying that Bannon would be embarrassed by the Epstein files, and now Bannon caught in that web. Bannon, more bad news for him, being sued over his management of a Bitcoin company, the FJB Bitcoin. That is a class action suit that could be big problems for Big Steve, who's trying to justify his advising a serial child rapist and sex trafficker, claiming it's all about a movie he's never produced. It really isn't going to wash. This is the same Steve Bannon who says in his vile emails to Epstein that Trump is stupid, that Trump should be removed by the 25th Amendment, and that he, not Donald Trump, but he, Stephen J. Bannon, is the center of the movement. You're listening to The Stone Zone, and we'll be back tomorrow with more politics and more of the inside skinny. Ta-ta.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.